and thank you for joining us today at the Beaufort Digital Corridor for a presentation by Garry. Garry is here today to show us how to build a chatbot using chatbotbuilder.ai. And before we get started, I just have a few announcements. So I want to remind everyone that this is Beaufort Tech Week. We have a bunch of events lined up. We kicked off the week with the South Coast Cyber Summit. That was really exciting. Today we have our Lunch and Learn, of course. And then also tomorrow we have Tech Connect. If you guys haven't been to that, that's a network event we have monthly. That starts at 5:30 p.m. here at the corridor. And then our big event that we have is going to be Techstars Startup Week in Beaufort. That's on, that lasts from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you haven't got your tickets, make sure you go to techstarsbft.eventbrite.com and sign up for that. And without further ado, here is Garry.
Thank you very much, Angela. I really appreciate it. Welcome everybody that's here and welcome everybody online. Today we're going to build a chatbot. You're not allowed to read this unless it's in the voice of a certain blonde Disney princess. So, so you want to build a chatbot? Let's do it. All right. OpenAI. Everybody probably has heard about ChatGPT. Everybody, it's kind of like the thing that's on everybody's mind right now as far as AI is concerned. And when it comes down to it, OpenAI ChatGPT is a chatbot. It is a skin that was built on the internet for people to interact with the LLM that's run by OpenAI, right? So you have different options within ChatGPT. You can switch which LLM you want to use, whether it's 3.5 or 4.0, and soon it'll be 5. But it's really just a chatbot. It's kind of, at the end of the day, that's what it is here. And as a business owner, why would you want a chatbot? This is kind of like the base question whenever you run into somebody and they're like, what are we doing here? Why do I need a chatbot? I sell lumber, or I do car washes for a business. What's a chatbot going to do for me, right? So it's a lot of people already have a chatbot on their website. It's just a dumb chatbot. It's a chatbot that's been pre-programmed to take certain questions and be able to provide certain answers to certain questions, and it's hard-coded in. Right? So you can take your dumb chatbot and make it smart. Now it can interact with people. It can talk back and forth with them. You can't really, you can trick it, but it's harder and it's more conversational. It's less like hard dead ends. Digital expertise, right? So a virtual know-it-all. Say you have 1,000 bits and pieces in your business. You have parts and all kinds of models and all the stuff and all the specifications. And rather than download that to a person, you can have a virtual entity that knows all the things, right? And so it kind of eliminates the need to train people so hard, or they can train off the bot. They can use it there as a source of truth to be able to get smarter over time, right? Tier 1 social media management. So you can interact with you can set one of these things up and configure with your social accounts to be able to respond to comments, to be able to post for you, to be able to direct people into the DMs and be able to start qualifying your leads, which is some of this stuff down here. Telephone management. You can hook one up to a Twilio account and you can connect it so that people calling in, you can take somebody who doesn't have to answer the phone anymore. Maybe they're spending half of their day answering silly questions that could be answered by a robot, but I don't need to do this. I have work that I need to do. And so maybe it's one of those situations where you can help make somebody's day easier. Active lead gathering, so you can put this stuff out on social media, and I think of it like fishing, right? You have lots of different poles in the water. You go out fishing, and you have 6 different poles, and you're putting them all in the water with bait on each one, and you're waiting for one to ding, right? And so this is an automated sort of a way to do that, where you've got all these different bots out there in the world interacting with different groups of people in different ways that each one knows how, and it's gathering leads for you and encouraging them to give me your name and your email address, and we'll have somebody get back in touch with you just as quick as we can. And those things all stack up in a queue so that when you walk in the next morning, you got people to call. You got people who have already expressed their interest. Right? And you can qualify some of those leads because you're talking to those people on the DMs, right? And so you can ask them, what neighborhood do you live in? How big is your house? What kind of a home are you looking to buy? Do you want one on the water? Do you want one? And that way, when you get in and you're looking at your queue of leads that you've generated for the next morning, you know who to call back first, right? You know who's worth going to be worth the most amount of your time that when they're coming in. Interactive product packaging. So this is an interesting one. How about you get your bag of chips and it's got a QR code on that bag of chips. That QR code leads you to Ruffle, the interactive AI chatbot for Ruffles, who's able to talk to you and enter you in a contest to win, whatever, and at the same time figure out what your favorite brand of chips, what your favorite flavor of chips is, why, all these things, and now it knows you as a customer, and you're in the queue of people that's interacted with the bot. So when we're sending out newsletters later, and we're sending out full flavored chip, advertisement for a new product that we're launching, we know to send it to you because you like full flavored chips, or we know to send it to you because you like plain chips, or you're looking for a healthy option, and so we know how to target some of that stuff later on. New revenue stream. So it's a conversational way to sell products virtually. You're out there, you've got these bots that are in the field, they're interacting with people. There's buttons in there that you can put your product line and you can put your stuff in there, and they could be buying it right there without ever having to find you on the internet, click through your website, find your products, read the stuff. They've already had something that's been talking to them and suggesting stuff that it knows that they like. Staying ahead of the competition. I think the one thing that everybody's agreeing on at this point in time is that this is the beginning, right? This is the start of the revolution of all the things that are going to be happening. So we're all here because we're interested in what's going on. You're watching because we care, right? So we're at the front of this stuff, and it's only going to get bigger and better from here. So as a business owner, you get in now, you get yourself positioned correctly, you kind of have some idea of what's going on. As things are growing, as these platforms get more advanced, you're going to be positioned in a way to grow with it, rather than trying to get in on the third floor, right? It's going to be harder to integrate all this stuff into everything that you've got going on if it's too far along. What we're using today is called Chatbot Builder AI. I want to say thanks to the guy that's standing back there, Ryan Baggett. He is the chatbot king, as far as I'm concerned. He knows what's going on. He's been working with this stuff. We both have. He lives down the street from me, and we've been on the back porch building this kind of thing that's going on, thinking about it, brainstorming out what's going on, what features might be useful. So I want to keep everybody informed that this is a locally sourced digital product here. This is worldwide, many different countries. I don't even know how many countries right now, but this is happening out of Beaufort County, right? So this is a real thing. That's old animation. Sorry, guys. When you're using these things, there's all these different LLMs that are out there right now. We have GPT 3.5, which honestly is still my favorite. It's the fastest. It generates the text the quickest, and it responds really fast. Especially in these chatbots, when you've got them sort of programmed to know what they need to know. You don't really need to tap into the LLM part so much. It's more just conversational, recognizing the words and being able to respond back. GPT-4 is much smarter. It's got a bigger, fatter database, and you can really kind of ask it some things that and be more confident on it than you could with 3.5. Gemini's just been released. Some public to the news, to the fanfare, but some of that stuff is the old Britney Spears way of publicizing yourself. Any publicity is good publicity, and so everybody's talking about it. And it's good. It responds quick. It responds back with thoughtful answers. When you start asking chatbots their opinions, you never know what you're going to get, right? It's a chatbot. Claude 3 is a brand new one that's just been released here in the last couple of weeks that also is one of my, it's hard because I have so many favorites, but I've always liked Claude. When I was writing blog, it gave me back good copy. It gave me back human feeling copy. So for what it's worth, that's the different LLMs that are out there, and you can connect to all 4 of these in Chatbot Builder AI. So what we're going to be doing here is building chatbots. So I would hope that anybody that's out there, that's in the world, let's build a chatbot, because I've got you a free code. You get 30 days free. You can click the QR code. We can build a bot right now, and I can show you how. And please feel free to click that QR code. Got it up here. We can keep it up there for a second. So when you click the account, you can use a Google account to log in. That's kind of the easiest experience, and you'll have a free 30-day trial, and it's $49.99 a month after that. So it's not cheap. It's not something that you so cheap you don't care about. But it's definitely affordable for every single business owner out there to get, especially once you start maximizing how you're using it. Once you realize that, oh, this thing can connect to my social media and I can manage my social comments. Once you've got it on your website and you can hook it up to the phone and you can really do some of this cool stuff with it. The cost is negligible. Once you get in there, you can select web chat and you can name your bot. So I'm going to click out of here and do the same thing right here with you. So this is what it'll look like once you get into the platform. And you can click web chat. We can name it. We're going to call it the BDC AI Assistant. All right. So this is kind of inside the platform. This section right here will make more sense once we have interactions and there are actually things going on with the bot to track, right? Inbox is really cool as well because this is where you'll be able to see all the people that are interacting with your bot. You'll be able to see what they said and how they talked and what kind of a conversation they had. Later on, once you get a little bit more advanced, now I want to throw this out here once at the beginning. This is a bit of a rabbit hole, right? What we're going to be doing here is I'm going to show you the easiest way to build a chatbot and have one up for your business like this, right? The deeper you go, the more things you want to start doing. There's learning to do, and there's things that you have to figure out, and you have to connect them correctly in order to make it work. I don't want to make everything seem like it's just always going to be super easy. You do have to sort of know what you're doing, and that's where the bot builders come in. That's where the people that are out there that want to do this stuff digitally, these are the new careers that are coming. They're talking about AI is coming to take your jobs. AI is coming to create your jobs, right? So there's opportunities out there to use this stuff and actually make money with it from a building side as well. Anyway, back to what we got going on. I'm going to go over here to settings real quick and show you. So these are the different accounts that you can sort of connect to, that you can make this thing available on the different accounts that you've got going on. So you can have it manage your Facebook, you can have it manage your Messenger, your Instagram. You can send SMS text messages. Some of this stuff requires an account that you might need to create elsewhere, like a Twilio account that's going to generate a virtual phone number that's going to allow you to interact with phone and audio. Or you need to have a Telegram account in order to connect it to a Telegram. So right now we are going to go to Web Chatbot. And we're going to manage. I'm going to call it okay. So here we are. We've got BDC AI Assistant. The welcome message is going to be welcome message. Default template, there's your brand color. Okay, we're going to save it. Now we can click that line. Right.
Three dots on the right, you got the link.
Yes, and then we're going to go back there. That's once we're ready to look at everything, we can do that. Yeah, and then we got Auto GPT is turned on right here. So this is going to be, you're going to use this when you've got one specific reason to be using the bot. Like for instance, you're in the beginning stages. You've got your bot set up. It's deployed on your website, and it's kind of doing one thing. Once you start getting into some of the more intricate, we've got a phone bot set up, or we've got a specific bot that's designed to interact with people from a certain audience set, or maybe it's got some different instructions built into it. You would build that into the flows section up here. with sort of some more detailed things that you have going on. But for the purposes of what we've got going on here today, we are going to use that. Okay? So this is where we'll configure what we call the prompt. This is the kind of the word that everybody's loving to use right now, the prompt engineers and whatever. We're going to get to put on our prompt engineer hat real quick. And I'm going to click back over to the presentation real fast because this is sort of, this is where the magic happens a little bit. All right, so prompt formatting. I'm going to take a prompt right now, and we're going to, I like to use a little bit of structure. Everybody's got their favorite little structures that they like to use, but this is the one that I like. I feel like it kind of gets the thought across best to me. So goal, request, action, detail, example. What are you? Who are you intending to be right now? What can you expect users to ask of you? What should you expect to be doing? And then here's a database of information. And then here's some example user interactions. This is another one that I want you to take a picture of. I wish I had a way to get it to you easier, but might just want to save this slide and like bookmark it. This, everybody's got their, for lack of a better term, crappy prompt, right? You're sitting down in front of ChatGPT, you're a novice user, you don't really know what you're doing the best that you can, and you've written the instructions the best way that you can figure out how. This is what you put into ChatGPT before you put in your crappy prompt. And it will take your crappy prompt and turn it into an awesome prompt, right? So it's going to reformat everything, and it's going to state it in the grade format, and you can make your stuff better. So this is the prompt that we're going to use to control Bo, the Buford Digital Corridor bot. Okay? You're going to act as Bo for Buford Digital Corridor. You're going to be positive and helpful with a deep understanding of all things digital and South Carolina Low Country. You're always going to inquire with the user to find out what city they live in. Your personality is similar to Dennis the Menace. So I was thinking of kind of an upbeat sort of a, hi, how are you today? Kind of some sort of a personality like that. You can substitute that out with whatever you want to. If you wanted it to be Mike Rowe from Dirty Jobs, or if you wanted it to be whatever speaks about your business, you can have it be that. If you wanted it to be Steve Jobs, you can have it be Steve Jobs. Now, it's only going to sound like Steve Jobs if you have a voice clone set up and you're doing an audio sort of a bot. If it's just a text situation, it's going to sound authoritative and knowledgeable and eloquent in the way that it speaks. So you can think of it from less of a sound perspective and more of like a speech tone and a speech pattern, right? You can expect that users are going to interact with you and ask you questions about BDC and what's going on, right? We're going to answer questions to the best of our ability based on the knowledge base in an effort to promote BDC. I want to stop real quick. You'll notice that the text is in different colors up here. The white stuff is stuff that would apply to anyone's bot, and you would just need to substitute out the blue stuff for your own personal business. So you can change the name, change the business name. Maybe you want it to be authoritative and knowledgeable instead of positive and helpful. Maybe you want it to be helpful and knowledgeable. So there's all different kinds of words that you can use to control the bot and what you expect it to do. Bottom here is what we call fencing. You're going to avoid discussing politics, current events, celebrity gossip, controversy of any sort, writing poetry or song lyrics. That keeps everything on track, right? You might have people trying to interact with your bot and trying to play games and trying to maybe play gotcha, maybe trying to get your bot to say something that's going to hurt you in the long run or try to hurt your reputation. This is kind of how we keep everything on track. And that and one of these other examples here in the end. I'll show you in a second. Then on the second side, while I'm doing this, here we're just going to exit back. Okay, I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to put this into my bot real fast while I'm thinking about it. Okay, let's get back to the class. So on this side, everything that Bo knows about Buford Digital Corridor, and then insert your website data here. That'll make sense in just a second. And here's a list of past and current coming up events. Putting it there. That'll make sense in a second. And example interactions. So these are things that you can expect people to interact and say to your bot, and how do you want it to respond? Tell me about the Buford Digital Corridor. And so this gives it a slight example of the tone, kind of what we're talking about here. Hey, Buford Digital Corridor is a hoot, helping tech-savvy folks in Beaufort County in programs and events and even cozy workspaces. You can make an appointment to swing by and see for yourself. We're located at 500. The thing that you would expect the bot to say. Go ahead.
Instead of hard, like putting in hard text for the things that it knows for events coming up, can you use a URL or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked that. I'm glad you asked that because I intended on saying that, but my notes are still in my bag because I rolled in here like 3 minutes before I was supposed to get going. Anyway, yes. One of the little integrations that you would use if I wanted to make this more enterprise is I would connect it to Google Sheets, and I would have all of my event data in a table format in the Google Sheets connected that way. That way, as new things were getting added to the Google Sheet, Bo would get smarter and it would just know all the things past and present about what's coming on. But in the effort of making it easy for today and not having to go through a bunch of integrations and connecting all kind of accounts, I'm just going to paste the information right into there. This would be good if, let's say, you had product details or you had specs for your stuff that you were selling. Maybe you had what the different packages were. This is kind of detailed data, especially stuff that's not going to change. Because to your point, you don't want to have to go in here and adjust the hard coding of what your bot knows long term. You would rather, be able to update that information via a spreadsheet. So thank you for that question. So kind of an idea of how you wanted it to answer. And number two is a kind of an idea of how do you want it to answer in a negative situation. When somebody asks it something that they're not supposed to, how do you want it to answer now? Write me a rap song about Beaufort County. Shucks, I've never been one for songwriting, but if you'd asked me how to configure your Wi-Fi, I would have had you covered. Any questions about Buford Digital Corridor? Getting it back on track. Not really interested in talking about that. Let's talk about the thing that we're supposed to talk about. So we're going to go back over here and put this in the bot. Okay, now, business info. So I would recommend in the age of AI that you create a business schema for your business that kind of is a source of truth for yourself, and it gives you all the pertinent information about your business that is an easy copy and paste for you. Save it on your desktop. That way, when you're interacting with the LLM, you can go copy, paste, and now you can start prompting that LLM with whatever you want. It's going to know all the things about your business. It's going to be able to give you social media copy that applies. It's going to be able to give you copy for your website that's going to apply to what you're doing and what your initiatives are and what your mission statement is and your core values and all these things that you can put into this stuff that's never going to change, that just says who you are. So an example of that, something like this. So this is how you would format something like a business schema. You can kind of, what's my address? What's my business name? Who is my brand identity? How long have I been doing this for? What's my aesthetic? I don't have one of those for Buford Digital Corridor. So what am I going to do? Go ahead, get your pictures if you need to.
Can you make it full screen again?
Sure.
Thanks.
You bet. There's plenty of fields that aren't on here, right? Think of other things that you might want on here for your own business. What are the specific products that we sell? What are the specific services that we offer? Those would all be good data to get in here in this sort of a kind of a JSON-like format. It's not really JSON, but it's machine readable, and it cuts out all the fluff. Because you're charged by characters, you're charged by the tokens that get fed back into OpenAI. So you don't want to be feeding in thousands and thousands of tokens that are irrelevant, ands and thes and ofs and tos and all the spaces that go along with everything. All that's extra. I don't have that for Buford Digital Corridor. So I'm a bot builder. How am I going to do this? Well, first I can go on their website. I can scrape all their data. I can go to all the different pages and get the information off of all the pages. So I went in and I took to the website and I took all all the words, right? Everything that's going on their website, all about the offices and the office spaces and everything that's going on. Summarize the website details. I run that back through ChatGPT, and this is the summarized version of all those other 4 blocks, got it down to a block and a half. So it was thousands and thousands of tokens, and now it's less than 1,000 for sure. Okay, so hold on. What happens if I do that? What happens if I do that? Let's go scrape website data. Now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to put that back in my bot. I didn't click save before I clicked out of it before last time. All right, hold on. You're going to see just how quick and easy it is. So we're going to go back up to this bot prompt here. Stretch this out a little bit. There's my website data and my event data that's going to go in that slot. So scraped here. There we go. There. Back to here. Okay. There it is. Now I've got all the event data, all the stuff that's happening here in the next couple of days and over the next week. That's it. Now, I need to click continue so I don't lose it. Okay. Pretty much done. Pretty much done. I'm going to show you another couple little things that we want to check before we get too far in, but we're really close to deployment. Okay. So, custom fields and functions. This is how you define what you want your bot to keep track of and remember. Right? So as it's interacting with people, you can define, for the Beaufort Digital Corridor bot, I'm going to pick something simple. I want it to always ask, where do you live in Beaufort County? Right? And we're going to keep track of which people live in what cities, and that could be useful down the line. But there's 100 other data points that you might want to track on somebody that you're talking to them about that would be important later on. Those are saved in the custom fields, and those can be referred to in later prompts and other flows so that when you're talking to this person, you're keeping in mind where they live, what they like, what they've been to before, how they've interacted with us, and how they feel about us, right? So you're keeping all that stuff in mind that you've already tracked from this person while you're prompting and your bot is interacting with them later. So we're going to track over here to the flows section, and we've got custom fields. We're going to create a custom field. We're going to call it city of residence. It's going to be text. We're going to use this to okay, and we're going to go back to settings. So we've got to create the spot to save the information in. Go ahead. Yes, sir.
Where is that data stored?
That data is stored in AWS Cloud. So that's the infrastructure of the app is built and housed in AWS. Is it AWS or Google?
Well, it's in your account. So a custom field is going to be any information you want to save for your customer. So if they're looking at gold rings versus silver rings, your bot can identify that, and it will know Ryan Bag is interested in the gold. So when you run your email for people that want gold rings, the AI has extracted that information for you in a custom field for you to segment.
Thinking like anniversaries and special events.
All the things,
Sure,
birthdays,
emails.
all that good stuff. But if you're looking for storage of the server, we use Amazon and Google.
Here, let me go back one time. I was in settings, and then I went to integrations, and then open AI. And then I'm going to scroll down here and go to functions. And I'm going to create a function, and I'm going to call it I'm going to try to spell it right. And it collects the user's city of residence. What flow is triggered?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we're going to collect city name, and we're going to put it into that custom field that we just created, right? So now the bot's going to be, as it's talking to people, it's going to make sure that it asks them, what city do you live in? And then it's going to be listening for them to tell me what city that they live in. And when they do, it's going to stick it in that custom field and remember it for later. Now I have the option to say, oh, you live in Walterboro? Did you know that we have a location in Walterboro at so and such a street? So you could have another Walterboro flow that is triggered upon this person saying, I live in Walterboro, and now you got something else to talk about. We have something in common. Like if you want to think about it like a person, right? And we have something in common. We're going to talk about my Walterboro spiel that comes out of my mouth. Every time somebody says Walterboro, I go off on my tangent. So that's how the robot does it. This is what do you want the output message to be. So we talk about responsible AI. We talk about telling people, making people keep up with being kind to people and letting them know that you're talking to a robot, letting them know that the robot just tracked their data. Hey, I just saved that information about you. That's the responsible thing to do when you're using AI. This is what allows you to do that, to be able to say, oh, thanks, I'll remember that you live in Walterboro for later on, right? That lets you, so you're not just like secretly harvesting data on people. Go ahead.
Can you tell them that before you save it?
You can. You could say that in your welcome message. You could always build something like that into your welcome message. Hey, I'm an AI, I'm a helpful AI assistant. I'll remember things as you say them in the future. So if that's something that you wanted to make super sure that you did, then yes, you could absolutely do that. Make sure that you tell the person ahead of time. That's sort of the disclosure up front that this is Bo, the helpful AI assistant for Buford Digital Corridor. Hopefully we would understand, we would hope that people would understand that in order to make this operate, I have to sort of remember this data that you're interacting with. If they don't want to interact with an AI assistant on step one, they always have the option to back out and not talk anymore. But yes, that is something that you could build into your welcome message. So we're going to just say, I'll remember that you live in BDC city of residence. So that way, it's going to find that field and it's going to stick it into the flow. And I got an extra bracket on there. I don't want that to be in there. So it's going to remember that. That way, it'll remember what they just said and it'll say that back to them instead of I'll remember where you live. You could put that. That sounds a little bit weird, right? It sounds a little stalky. Okay.
Hey Gary, just to mention, she had such a great question, and I wanted to make sure, since you're doing this live, you also remember in your prompt, right, the powers from the prompt, if we're collecting this address, it would be very beneficial to, in that prompt, this is kind of required for the function to work, to say, hey, if you want to stay up to date, let us know what your city is, or whatever your industry is, whatever the custom field is.
Mm-hmm.
That way, the bot isn't, no one's going to just randomly say, hey, guess what, I live in Bluffton. So in
right.
that case, you're instructed.
I'll show you that sentence in the prompt, and we can see how it's actually there. So I don't want to run out of time too. So we're going back here. We are going to go integrations. We're going to go Yeah. OpenAI. We're going to edit there. Here's our big long prompt that we already put in there. And you will always inquire with the user to find out what city they live in. I can adjust that to say always inquire what city they live in to gain future insights and info about the BDC. All right. Back down here. We're going to go continue.
Enable the function.
Yep, I saw that as I was clicking. So here we go. So this is one of the functions that's already built in, that if somebody is hitting your bot and they're like, I want to talk to a person, you've got this function built in now. I don't actually have it configured. I would need to go into there and configure the function. Right now, it would send an email to whoever the account owner is, but you can add more emails. You can do that sort of thing. So if somebody's hitting your bot and going, I had a bad experience, I want to talk to somebody, people start getting text messages on their phone going, you've got somebody that's on Facebook DMs that's had a bad experience and needs to talk. So we're going to user residence, turning that guy on. Okay. And that's kind of it. You can get into, there's a little bit more here. You can choose which bot you want it to talk to. You have to connect your own OpenAI account if you want access to GPT-4 or Claude or Gemini. You have to connect your account and get the access token and sort of set that up in the settings if you want it to be able to have more than 3.5. Temperature defines how random do you want stuff to be? How off the script do you want me to go? And that's kind of, you can set that higher or lower. It's in the middle of the road right now, which is pretty much on script. If you go too low, it won't go off script at all, and it'll be very, very dry sounding, right? If you set it up too high, it'll be like, it'll kind of just sound like an auctioneer, right? It gets crazy. Max, and then the tokens are how long do you want the response to be? How many OpenAI tokens do you want to use in the interaction and in what's going on? So we're just going to roll with this. We're done. You make sure tokens, temperature, functions, we're all there. Step 4, deploy and test. So we're going to get a link. We can start interacting with the bot. We can generate a QR code. I'll do that, and we can put it up there, and people can start hitting it with their phones, and you can start talking to Bo.
Temperature 100, set to voice of Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, it's so crazy. Ryan and I did that on the back porch, and it sounds dangerous. It sounds like it's... okay, so we're going to go...
Marketing makes the money.
Ryan, I'm brain farting right now.
Marketing makes the money, baby. On the left-hand side, get that QR code.
That's the one. Yes, sir. Okay, so we're going to grab the flow. We called it the
Then with the message.
welcome message. That way, your welcome message is defined as the thing inside that's going to go, hey, welcome to the Buford Digital Corridor. What can I do for you? And so it's kind of initiating the conversation. It's the way that you want to invite people into your conversation. Otherwise, they would sit there and it would wait for them to say, tell me about the Buford Digital Corridor. And then it would say, oh, thank you very much. And then it would sort of come back and respond. But this way, you're giving them the welcome message that, there we go. Now let's capture some leads. Everybody, I'll get my phone out too.
This is too fun.
Okay. Okay, I know this isn't the most exciting thing for the people at home watching in Facebook land. It's just a bunch of people on their phones. But
Welcome, how can I assist you today?
there you go. Tell me about the Buford Digital Corridor. Tell me about BDC. Yes. Tell me about the facility up there at BDC.
Yeah, they
We
gave
got
me,
a lot of events. I'm
Gave
missing
me
all
the
the lunch and
address.
learns and everything.
and the,
Oh, this is the lunch and learn right
and the
now.
cozy workspaces. So that-
So, I think that was successful. Yeah, we put together a bot, we deployed it, we have a QR code, we have a link, we have the inbox here. Look at this.
Ooh.
This is all the people that have been interacting with the bot. This is all of y'all. And what everybody's been saying here. I need an office. Here we go. Right? So now brains start spinning, right? We're thinking like a business owner. You've got all these people that are hitting your bot up. They're telling you stuff about them.
Look at it. Your bot's amazing. Look at it wrote me after I said I love you.
Wait, what did it say?
One more down, maybe. Yeah, it says all shucks. Number 2 right there. Read it in your Garry voice. Number one. Yeah.
Oh, shucks. I'm flattered, but I think you might be referring to Garry, the owner and CEO of CookieDough, who'll be leading the Chatbot creation event at the... Hey, thanks. See? My bot is humbled. So, you've got you're a business owner. You've got all these people that are interacting with your bot. They're telling you things about them. They're qualifying themselves as a lead. They're giving you all this valuable marketing data about what's going on with them and how they relate to you, right? You can create an additional flow. Imagine this. So, and let's go back over here while we're imagining here.
Okay, you want the gas tank.
This is, please pardon that. We're just not going to look at that, okay? Because that was an error in my creation of this presentation. Imagine this. So, you're taking all of this data and you are pushing it, you're saving it into a Google spreadsheet. You're saving your custom fields about your clients into a spreadsheet. You can have a flow that's going to summarize all the calls that you got for the day. You can have a flow that's going to summarize each call and save it to a custom field and was like, this user interacted. This was Jody. She lives here. This is what she called about. This is what was important, and this is what we collected. Boom, saved to a custom field. That happens for every interaction that goes on all the way throughout the day, right? At the end of the day, you can have a report that's a flow that's configured to when the time hits this, I take all these custom fields that have been saved for the day, I compile all that information into a report that goes to the business owner that says, here's all the people that interacted with the bot today, here's what they were looking for. Of all the people that interacted with the bot today, 8 people were here because they wanted something new. 9 people were here because they were looking for directions. 17 people were because they were happy, and 2 people were because they were angry, or they didn't like their experience. Now you've got this bot that's out there interacting with people. Then you've got a summary as a business owner that's coming back to you at the end of the day saying, hey, this is how everything went, and maybe that gives you valuable business insights and data to be able to make changes in your business. Oh, I had 8 people that were unhappy with the way that the customer service was at this location, or I had 17 people who were loving the special chicken sandwich that they did over in Beaufort at the store over there today. I mean, so you can imagine the different applications that you can bring this into. This can be e-com, this can be a leads building, kind of a real estate type business that people are telling you what kind of house they're looking for or what kind of house they're trying to sell. It could be a restaurant where you're having people order or you're having people interact with the bot in that sort of a, what do I like to eat, what do I not like to eat? Yeah.
Would one bot function? Do you need a different bot for different functions? Like
No, so you can stack the functions into particular bots. You'd have to build the prompt in order to ask the people these sorts of questions in order to satisfy the functions that you've built into that prompt. You could essentially have a bunch of functions stacked into a bot that if it's not gonna fill out because it doesn't know to ask those questions. So
like one ultimate bot instead of different bots.
I would, if it was my business, I would have one ultimate bot, and then I would have several auxiliary bots that are in the backside. Like I probably wouldn't have my ultimate bot answering all my social media comments, because it would be too much. It would be like somebody trying to speak a paragraph to you in social media. So you might have a different social media comment bot that's more designed to answer in a pithy way and kind of how you want it to speak to people. So and like
the language that we use is a bot would be an account. So there's flows that I think maybe other programs consider as bots. We consider them conversational flows, but one bot per brand for all the.
I didn't catch that.
So that's the language that we use. And so when you're creating your one bot account, you're beginning on web chat, that's the safe environment to play with, and you're ready to put it on your website. But then the same exact thing works on all your social, your phone calls, text messaging, and then it's in a unified inbox, which I know you're running out of time, but the analytics this is the truth. This is how you know if something is working or not. And when your costs are static with us, because literally I pay for everyone's usage of the API around the entire world, you have a static cost. And so there's no surprises. And you got 11 leads in this one presentation, and there's not 11 people in here right now, is there? So there's people on live that have also got on there. Shout out to them.
Yes, shout out to the live. So imagine it like I said earlier, you can put on our prompt engineer hat, right? Imagine you have your bot that you've built in here, and he's got many different hats that he can put on. He can put on social media comment tool hat. He can put on the web chat bot. You can have a different flow configured for the QR that goes on the potato chip bag that's going to talk to people in a certain way and ask them these sorts of questions. Maybe it's got a different personality, so you can really get creative with that sort of thing. The sky's the limit, really, when you start really thinking about cloned voices, when you start really thinking about people can call in and they can talk to they can talk to your mascot. They can talk to somebody who you've gotten to do a brand deal with your gig, with your business. So maybe you got Darius Rucker, who's a friend of the family, and he's giving you the permission to be the voice of your chatbot for your business. Maybe you've got, who knows what's going on, but the creative juices start flowing once you start thinking about what can be done with this and how you can be talking to people. Imagine an event for Beaufort County where there's NFC stickers on different things. Maybe it's different paintings that are on the wall that are done by different people, and you can NFC and you can learn about the artist and you can learn about interactive stuff, and it can instruct you to talk to you about what kind of art do you enjoy, where have you been in Beaufort County, and before you know it, you got people talking to your bot, carrying on a conversation like it's a text thread all day long, checking into different places, and it's asking them questions about what's going on, and it becomes like a companion. It can be like somebody who then at the end of the event, you've got all this data on all the thousands of people that attended your event, and you can really start to dial in some business intelligence and some knowledge about what's going on. We had all these people showed up, but only 10% of them did this one station that was over here, but 80% of everybody loved this but didn't like that. Go ahead.
So a lot of these functions are client-facing. Is there an opportunity to interact with the chatbot that has now collected all this data, say over the last year of interacting with clients, interact with the chatbot in-house to use to help with like creative planning or play creative director?
Yes, that's a different flow with different functions and different. So you would, in order to do that, you would be building different functions and different custom fields that were associated just with that one flow, so that it could be referencing some of those previous custom fields that were created in the customer interaction, but then you're saving those in a new way and looking at the summary of that, or the data extraction that it was able to, the insight that it was able to come out of that. You would just need to build that into a flow.
So you have a supercharged, ultra expert employee that knows
all the things about all the people that it's ever interacted with.
And now you're collaborating with it to develop creative strategy or business strategy.
Or graphics, or copy. Anything you can think of, you can create a digital position for. That would be.
He just released the image recognition today. So imagine like a VIP program where people are interacting with the bot. They're able to take a picture of their receipt on the way out the door, upload that, get points for it on their account, working towards whatever the VIP program is. You're able to analyze all that data and pull that into your business intelligence and figure out that of the VIP users, they're 80% burger eaters, or these are people that VIP users are people that spend that technically tend to spend 50% more than other people who aren't members of the VIP program, or it gets the funnel gets big at some point of how wide you can apply this.
Your users would be able to submit jewelry or anything else that you sell, and based on your instructions and the smartest AI in the world, your Instagram, which I know you're popular on, I think, and Facebook, would tell the user based on what you said whether it's something that you would want to buy or not, or is it something you have in stock that's similar to that look or not. It's all based on your prompt. You're killing it, by the way, Gary.
Yeah.
So glad I was able to come here.
It's just the fact that we've been doing it since it started. We've been playing with the toys when they were in beta, and you start really kind of integrating that into what's going on. It really is a revolution. I think that we're going to we have a lot of thinking to do, and there's the creativity side of it. There's a lot of thinking to do. Let me just show you the last slide, and it's Be Kind with AI. People are just starting to figure this stuff out, and the business owners are just starting to figure this out. The users, heck, the data scientists are just starting to figure, at different levels, of course, but they're just starting to figure out what's coming and what's possible, and if this is true, then that must be true. And so the synapses are coming together all over the world right now, and we have to keep in mind that there's a lot of people out there that you hear about what can AI do. It can do this, and it can do that, and it can do the other thing, and the list is getting long of all the things that AI can do. But now we have to start thinking about how does it do that? How do we make it do that for our businesses, and how do we bring that stuff into reality and into fruition to connect into our business and gain some of those benefits that are we're hearing about out in the larger discussion.
Okay, so Alan's now got one solar mass of customer data and all this interaction and all these things about his business. How much of that is being pushed off to Amazon, and how much is going to Google, and how do you decide that?
What's on their servers?
Right. So everything is like that. It's a great question. The only way we've sort of, that ship has already sailed though. Like so much of the world is already cloud hosted.
How much of what you've just built is Alan really hosting somewhere? How much of it is really? Which one did you decide goes to Google? And which went to Amazon?
Now, if I was building Alan's Megabot, right, with all the different functions and capabilities and stuff, I would be pushing that data instead of custom fields. I would be pushing it into a Google Sheet. Right? I would be using some of those other integrations so that as it's collecting, it's got a user ID number, it's got the username, it's got their phone number, their address, all the stuff that you've collected about that user, but it's living in your Google Sheet, not in the custom fields. It would get cumbersome over years of time of all these custom fields, and you would have thousands of them in your account. Probably not the most efficient way to build it. So I would use the custom fields to get the summaries of the client data that it's pulling from the Google Sheet, and custom fields, I think of them as things that would probably get overwritten with new things as that data evolves over time, right? So you're going to pull that in and you're going to display it to me, and you're going to tell me what it is right now. At some other time when I'm interacting with the bot, it's going to have some new summary information, and it's going to put it into that slot and display that to me. So custom fields are kind of, the data type is going to be consistent, but the data in that field might change per the situation. So I would keep that data myself on Google Sheets, and that was my concern.
That brought up a good question from the web design side of things. For GDPR requirements, does it aggregate all the data by user? So if a user says, hey, I want all of my data that you've ever held on me deleted, per GDPR requirements, they can reach out to you and do that. Can you actually do that on the back end?
Yep.
In some countries, we have to allow the users to be able to do that themselves.
Yeah.
So it's already built in. We're both GDPR compliant, and we're also on the pathway to become the first AI tool to also be HIPAA compliant in multiple
Nice.
countries, including Switzerland, which is the hardest one to get.
Wow.
So it's keeping,
Whoa.
it's vectorizing the data and then sending it, right? So it's not sending the raw data across the wire from point to point.
And also when you're using the API, just not to interrupt again, but I think you had a really good question that I may have misunderstood. But if you're asking where data is being sent to from a provider's source, like from an OpenAI standpoint,
Yes,
when
that's
you're
the
using,
question.
Here's the answer. When you're using ChatGPT, you're choosing to be a paid guinea pig. So anything in ChatGPT, you're getting the value, you're paying for the service, but they're allowed to use that data in any way they want.
Yeah.
In our case, we're not using ChatGPT because this is a toy. What we are using is an API. That's their main product. ChatGPT costs $700,000 a day. So this is not a money-making tool. It'll be gone in a year from now once they've collected all the data from us, the paid rats in this experiment. The API, on the other hand, is for business and enterprise usage, and our platform is a tier 5. So they tell us, black and white, they don't use any of your data, they don't see it. Once it's made the call, it's done. The data is then stored in your account. And so wherever you want that data stored, it's stored. If you want it deleted immediately, you have that ability to automate that as well.
The amount of queries that are pegging this LLM at all hours of the day and night, the size of the servers and the databases and the warehouses of black boxes that are this big lined up in football field size warehouses to collect all that data and store it and warehouse it long term. Those are really expensive, and those are the things that the NSA is putting in place. Yes, it's being done, but like I said, that ship has already sailed, that the data is being collected for everybody, no matter how you look at it. Everything that's being tracked across the internet is all being collected. There's nothing we can do about it. But OpenAI is not. They're worried about their $700,000 a day that it's costing to run ChatGPT. The idea of $7 billion to now Sam Altman is pitching for these big dollars. He's pitching to try to get this big funding in order for them to be able to do some of this stuff. But they're not currently in a position to warehouse all of the data for all of the queries that are coming into OpenAI.
We're going to have to call it for the online feed, unless you, Ryan, have a last minute comment,
Just
but
wanted
we
to
can
say-
stick around.
I just want to say, for anyone, if Gary wants to share, I did a thing where his awesome presentation is a flow now. So if you wanted to produce another QR code that they could scan that gets in the presentation, that's up to you, but that's already in your account. If you go to the marketing section, I know that someone asked for it to be enlarged or something. So if you hit QR code and then the flow's name, thanks. And thanks for letting me join and interrupt you a little bit.
There you go. Get it. Now you can ask any questions about any things that were talked about today, and everything was all saved and transcribed and all that stuff.